In the dim light of the attic, where dust motes danced like restless spirits, a forgotten doll sat silently, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Sarah had always been fascinated by the past, especially the unfinished stories left behind in forgotten corners. When she inherited her grandmother's old house, she found herself excited to explore every nook and cranny, discovering objects with memories attached. But one item captured her attention like no other: a porcelain doll perched on a dusty shelf. "You're so beautiful," she whispered, wiping the dust away to reveal the doll's exquisite features and glassy blue eyes. "What's your story?" The doll had an unusual charm, but Sarah also felt an unsettling presence radiating from it. Her grandmother had always warned her about the doll, saying it had been passed down through generations, harboring a restless spirit. Sarah dismissed her grandmother's old tales as mere superstition, convincing herself that the doll was just an artifact of the past. "It can't be that bad," she chuckled nervously, setting the doll on a small table in her new bedroom. That night, as Sarah lay in bed, she was suddenly jolted awake by a soft, haunting giggle. Sitting up, she scanned the room, her heart racing as she realized the sound seemed to come from the direction of the doll. "Is someone there?" Feeling foolish, she turned on the light, but her room was empty. The doll, still smiling, sat in its place, untouched. Shaking off the fear, Sarah told herself it was just her imagination and slipped back into sleep. As the days went by, strange things began to happen. Items in her room would be mysteriously moved, and she would see glimpses of movement from the corner of her eye. Every time she turned to look, nothing would be there, except for the doll, which always seemed to watch her with a penetrating gaze. "Why is this happening?" she groaned. "It's just an old doll." One night, Sarah woke up to find the doll sitting on her bed, its porcelain hands resting on her legs. Terrified, she jumped back, her heart pounding. "What the hell?" she shouted, pushing the doll away. But the doll didn't fall to the ground. Instead, it remained eerily poised, as if mocking her fear. Sarah flung it back to the table and decided it was time to get rid of the cursed thing. The next day, Sarah packed the doll in a box and drove to a nearby thrift store, planning to leave it there for someone else to find. But as she handed the box to the store clerk, a deep chill coursed through her, as if the very air around her had turned icy. "Oh, this is lovely. What a beautiful doll!" the clerk exclaimed, cradling it as Sarah felt a wave of nausea wash over her. Uneasy, Sarah left the store, but that night, she was awakened again by that unsettling giggle. This time it felt closer, more menacing. Heart racing, she jumped out of bed and sprinted to the room, only to find the doll was back on her bedside table, smiling wider than before. "Stop it," she shouted, shaking all over. "Just leave me alone." The doll's smile seemed to grow more sinister, and for the first time, Sarah noticed something dark dancing in its eyes, a flicker of life that sent chills down her spine. Desperate to find answers, Sarah began researching the doll's origins. She discovered that it once belonged to a little girl named Eliza, who tragically died under suspicious circumstances. The doll had been rumored to be a vessel for her spirit, longing to find peace. "No, this can't be real." As she delved deeper, she learned of others who had owned the doll, every owner reporting similar eerie events before mysteriously disappearing. Panic set in as she realized she might have awakened something far more sinister than she could control. In the quiet aftermath of shattered porcelain and echoes of laughter, darkness still lurks in the corners, ready to whisper new horrors. After Sarah's terrifying confrontation with the haunted doll, life in her small town slowly returned to normal, or so it seemed. Sarah moved on, but the chilling remnants of her experience haunted her dreams, and she could never shake the feeling that the darkness was not yet finished with her. Weeks after the doll's destruction, Sarah begins receiving mysterious gifts at her doorstep. old toys, and bizarre trinkets that tell tales of other children lost to the shadows. Each trinket comes with a note, a plea from innocent voices that echo through her mind. Who is doing this? Why is this happening? She mutters in disbelief, fear curling in her stomach. As more toys arrive, each has an unsettling connection to the previous owners, leading Sarah to research the town's history, discovering a dark legacy of at least 3 other children who had vanished over the decades. Sarah's investigations lead her to the local library, where she forms an uneasy alliance with Leo, a local historian intrigued by her tale. Together, they uncover the stories of the missing children, each linked to other dolls and toys that had once inhabited their homes. There's a pattern here, he says, combing through newspaper clippings. Each child had a connection to a specific toy that went missing right before they disappeared. As they dig deeper, Sarah begins to hear the whispers of the lost children more clearly, drawing her further into the mystery. The more she learns, the more she feels a connection with the spirits of these children, as if they were reaching out to her for help. One night, Sarah is jolted awake by the sound of children giggling outside her window. When she looks out, she sees the silhouettes of small figures playing in her yard. Paralyzed by fear, she instinctively knows she must confront whatever has come to reclaim them. "What do you want?" she calls out into the night, her heart racing. The figures turn toward her, their faces obscured by the shadows, but their pleading eyes shine with desperation. As they reach toward her, Sarah feels the urge to invite them inside, to save them from whatever binds them. Just as Sarah begins to unravel the child's tale, the new doll, the one that had mysteriously appeared after the first doll's destruction, begins to stir in the shadows. It's as if the entity that had once possessed the first doll has returned stronger than before. "Sarah, you need to get rid of it," Leo warns as Sarah reveals her findings to him. "It's a vessel, and it's trying to claim you." Against Leo's warnings, curious and drawn to its aura, she brings the doll back into her home, believing she can communicate with it to learn more about the children. However, by doing so, Sarah unknowingly invites chaos into her life. Nightmares erupt into reality as the dolls and toys in her home begin to animate during the witching hour, reenacting the last moments of the lost children. The whispers of the past linger in the shadows, a distant echo longing to be heard. As memories resurface, the darkness creeps in once more. After liberating the spirits of the lost children, Sarah felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had released them from the haunted doll's curse, but the victory was bittersweet. The scars of those chilling experiences remained etched in her memory, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching. As the nights went by, Sarah was plagued by disturbing dreams of the doll, now shattered and lifeless. She would awaken in a cold sweat, the remnants of its screaming laughter still ringing in her ears. Why can't this nightmare end? She wondered aloud, in desperate need of solace. But what began as nightmares soon morphed into vivid visions. The spirits of the lost children were returning to her in dreams, desperately trying to communicate a lingering threat that overshadowed their freedom. One morning, Sarah discovered an unexpected package at her doorstep. A padded envelope containing an old, dust-covered toy, a jack-in-the-box with faded colors and a crooked grin. "What is this? I got rid of all the cursed things," she gasped, unease settling deep in her stomach. As she examined the toy, she felt a chill in the air, accompanied by the distant sound of a soft lullaby. She recognized it immediately, one of the children's favorite tunes. Fearful yet curious, she couldn't resist winding the toy's handle. As the jack-in-the-box played its haunting melody, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Shadows lengthened on the walls and the temperature dropped, causing goosebumps to prickle her skin. Suddenly, the jack sprang open, revealing a twisted, grinning clown, a living puppet filled with malevolence. "Playtime is just beginning," it cackled, sending Sarah into a panic. She tried to throw the toy away, but the puppet seemed to move on its own, its strings gliding through the air, laughter echoing throughout the room. Panic surged as Sarah realized this was not merely a toy. It was a conduit for something sinister. Distressed, Sarah sought help from Leo, who joined her once more in investigating the origins of the Jack-in-the-Box. Their research uncovered a disturbing truth. The toy was linked to the same cult that had once sought to harness the powers of the haunted doll, aiming to create living vessels that would carry their dark influence. We have to act fast, he urged, piecing together the implications. If this clown is here, there may be more to come. The pair realized the cult's influence was not erased. It merely lay dormant, waiting for the right emotional turmoil to resurrect its terrifying grip. As the days progressed, Sarah began to notice other strange occurrences. Fellow townsfolk began reporting sightings of eerie toys and shadows resembling the Jack-in-the-Box. Each time Sarah encountered the clown, it grew bolder. It mocked her, swinging from the ceiling, moving its head side to side with an unsettling rhythm. "Come play, Sarah. Join us," it taunted with a menacing grin. Disturbed and determined to confront her fears, Sarah returned to the town's library, hoping to find a way to break the cursed connection once and for all. In the aftermath of confronting the shadows, a chilling revelation unfolds, a past not yet buried, lurking just beneath the surface. After the perilous encounter with the Jack-in-the-Box, Sarah settled into a false sense of peace. The haunted echoes of her previous battles faded, leaving behind a fragile calm. However, as she began to rebuild her life, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, waiting and watching. Days turned into weeks, and just as life began to regain its normalcy, strange occurrences reemerged. Sarah started noticing unsettling clues around her house. Small toys appearing in odd places, and the faint sound of giggles echoing in the night. "Not again," she muttered, anxiety creeping back in as she stumbled upon an old wooden box hidden under her bed. Inside the box lay toys belonging to the children she once helped free from darkness. The toys were worn and faded, but didn't seem to harbor the same sinister energy as before. They felt like remnants of a happier time. Yet the unease continued to gnaw at her. One evening, a knock at her door startled Sarah. When she opened it, there stood a stranger, a woman with a haunted look in her eyes. "I'm Clara," she said. "I've come to talk about the doll and the other toys." Clara revealed she had experienced similar horrors caused by a doll that had haunted her family for generations. As they spoke, Sarah learned that Clara had come to warn her about the connection between their experiences, something far more sinister than either had realized. Deeply unsettled, Sarah and Clara decided to investigate together. They pooled their knowledge about the recent hauntings as they tried to trace the origin of the darkness that had afflicted them both. "The more we keep these items, the stronger the connection becomes," Leo warned as he joined their efforts. They uncovered a chilling connection, a family line of cursed toys, tools for the darkness used in rituals to trap spirits for centuries, all bearing the same mark, a small, intricate symbol hidden on the bottom of each item. As Sarah and Clara dug deeper into the town's history, they discovered that there was an ancient cult that had been active generations ago. This cult practiced dark rituals to harness the fears and sorrows of children, which formed the backbone of the cursed toys. "If we don't stop this, there's no telling how far it could spread," Clara exclaimed, dread filling the air. The tension mounted as unexplainable occurrences escalated. Toys began to move on their own, shadows crept closer during the night, and laughter filled the silence, chilling them to the core. When they stumbled upon a hidden compartment in the library revealing ancient records, they uncovered the cult's members, names long buried in shame, tied to the history of the dolls that brought them so much pain. One of these names, "This could be my great-grandmother," Leo said, eyes wide with realization. She was involved with the cult. As the pieces fell into place, Sarah, Clara, and Leo realized that those haunted by the dolls must confront their own family truths to break the cycle once and for all. The investigation took a dark turn when Sarah discovered a forgotten toy shop on the outskirts of town. The shop was filled with old dolls, toys, and familiar symbols etched into the walls. "This is where it all started," Sarah whispered, the weight of despair wrapping around her. They entered the store, the air heavy with dread. The toys appeared to watch them, and at the center of the shop sat a display of dolls resembling the lost children, a harrowing reminder of what they had once endured. Whispering voice, beneath the facade of safety lays a darkness still thirsting for fear, a shadow that has grown even bolder in the absence of light. Narrator. Following their harrowing victory against the cursed dolls and the ancient spirits, Sarah, Clara, and Leo hoped to finally enjoy a life free from the horrors of the past. However, remnants of the darkness lingered, and an unsettling presence began to weave its way back into their lives. Episode 1. The Forgotten Prophecy. Narrator. As the nights grew darker, a new chapter of terrifying events unfolded. Sarah began having vivid nightmares again, dreams filled with the whispered warnings of a prophecy she had never heard. Sarah's voice, distressed, "We thought we ended it, but it feels like something is coming back for us. I can just feel it." Narrator. Determined to uncover the truth behind these nightmares, Sarah, Clara, and Leo delved into the town's library once again, digging into old records, hoping to find any mentions of the whispers that haunted Sarah's dreams. Episode 2. The Unearthly Occurrence. Narrator. During their research, they stumbled across a cryptic book hidden among the dusty shelves, a volume filled with dark rituals and prophecies tied to the original cult. Within its pages, they discovered a disturbing prophecy about the Waker, an entity that arises when fear and sorrow intertwine. Leo's voice. The Waker, it can draw power from our fears. That's why we keep hearing those whispers. Narrator. The realization sent chills down their spines. The darkness they thought they had escaped was not only lurking, it was gathering strength, waiting for an opportune moment to strike. Episode 3. Shadows in the Mist. Narrator. The whispers soon manifested in their town. People began vanishing, one by one, either disappearing without a trace or succumbing to endless fits of terror. The atmosphere grew heavy with unease, and the shadows seemed to move of their own accord. Sarah's voice, frantic, "We need to do something. We can't let it take anyone else," she urged her friends as they witnessed their community descend into chaos. Narrator. Realizing they had awakened something sinister, the trio understood they needed to face their fears once more, to confront what the Waker had unleashed upon their town. Episode 4. The Gathering of Shadows. Narrator. A storm loomed over the town, reflecting the turmoil within it. The friends decided to gather a group of allies, including survivors of the cursed items and those intrigued by the town's mysteries. They held a meeting in Town Hall, brainstorming plans to exploit the prophecy and fight back against the looming darkness. Clara's voice. We can't allow fear to control us. We need to show the town that we can fight back as a united force. Narrator. As they shared their experiences, the crowd began to feel the power of shared strength, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the growing fears. Episode 5. Shadowed Memories. Narrator. However, an unsettling message arrived in the form of a letter addressed to Sarah, a warning from a mysterious stranger who claimed to have insight into the Waker's origin and true strength. In the wake of victory, a new shadow looms, resurrecting old fears and weaving a web of intrigue that threatens to ensnare the unprepared. After the arduous battle against the Waker, Sarah, Clara, and Leo believed they had finally closed the chapter on the dark legacy haunting their town. Hope filled the air as they helped the community rebuild, but they couldn't shake the sense that the peace was merely a facade, a delicate illusion just waiting to shatter. As months trickled by, reports of unexplained occurrences began surfacing yet again. This time, the disturbances were subtle: flickering lights, whispers in the wind, and the occasional sighting of shadowy figures lurking just outside the periphery of vision. "It's almost like they're testing us," Clara remarked, unease creeping into her tone. "Or waiting for the right moment to strike," Leo replied, frowning with concern. Determined to protect their town, the trio convened to investigate the strange happenings. But this time, they were met with a chilling message spray-painted on the side of the library: "The past never forgets." Deeply unsettled, the friends researched the messages they'd seen and uncovered a dark history surrounding a nearby abandoned asylum, once notorious for treating children who were deemed troublesome. The asylum was rumored to have conducted inhumane experiments, and many children were said to have disappeared without a trace. "What if the spirits are restless? What if they want us to remember them?" Clara suggested, concern etched on her face. As they delved deeper into the asylum's dark history, they discovered tales of a particular child named Amelia, who had vanished under mysterious circumstances, fueling the malevolent energy tied to the location. As they prepared for their journey to the asylum, Sarah experienced vivid dreams of Amelia, a girl with wide, sorrowful eyes, reaching out for help. In her dreams, Amelia's pleas echoed louder with each passing night. "I feel like she wants me to find her, to help her," Sarah confided to her friends, fear and determination wrestling within her. Unable to ignore the connection any longer, the trio gathered supplies and prepared to face whatever awaited them within the asylum's crumbling walls. Upon arrival, the building loomed ominously, its shattered windows piercing like eyes into the depths of despair. Eerie silence enveloped them as they crossed the threshold, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. "This place feels wrong," Clara whispered, glancing nervously around. As they stepped further inside, they uncovered artifacts of the past: old toys, rusted medical equipment, and photographs of the children who once resided there. Each item echoed with the laughter and sorrow of lost souls trapped within its walls. As they explored, they found a hidden room filled with documents revealing a dark secret. The staff had been conducting experiments to manipulate the children's fears, attempting to create the ultimate guardian for the asylum using the essence of childlike wonder combined with the power of terror. These experiments led to their suffering, and possibly their deaths, Leo reasoned as realization set in. Sarah began to piece together the history of Amelia's disappearance, the ultimate test subject for the warped ambitions of the asylum staff.
In the fragile light of dawn, shadows stretch, whispering forgotten secrets that beckon the brave to unearth them. The cycle of darkness is not broken, only paused, waiting for the right moment to strike again. After their hard-fought victory against the asylum's tortured spirits, Sarah, Clara, and Leo believed they could finally breathe easy. However, a haunting presence continued to linger, clinging to the edges of their lives. The atmosphere felt thick, as if the darkness was biding its time, preparing for a return that would test their unity like never before. Episode 1: Shadows of the Future. Sarah started experiencing unsettling premonitions, fragments of dreams filled with images of a darkened figure lurking in the shadows, whispering her name. She sensed a familiar chill creeping into her life, igniting worry deep within her soul. These dreams, they feel so real. Something is coming, and I don't know what it is, she confided to Clara one morning. Maybe we should explore it, find out what it means. We can't ignore these feelings, Clara suggested, though a flicker of fear shadowed her eyes. Episode 2: The eerie return as Sarah and Clara delved into their research. They unearthed unsettling stories of a new entity known as the Watcher, a spirit born from the remnants of anguish left behind after the countless battles against darkness. This shadowy figure was said to thrive on fear, drawing energy from those who had previously faced the cult or the haunted objects. This isn't just a passing symptom, it's a cycle. The Watcher is growing stronger off our fears, off the pain this town has faced, Leo explained, a serious tone settling over them. Episode 3. Whispers of Dread. The three friends began to notice peculiar events. Children in town seemed agitated, experiencing night terrors and visions of dark figures standing at the foot of their beds. Sarah felt an overwhelming need to protect the community, fearing the shadows now threatened the innocent. "We can't let the Watcher take hold of this town," Clara insisted. "We have to figure out how to confront it before it's too late." As they gathered their allies once more, hopes of rallying the town against the impending darkness grew stronger. Episode 4. The Gathering Shadow. Determined to confront this new threat, the trio organized a town meeting, spreading awareness of the dangers returning to Eldermere. The atmosphere in the town hall was tense as fearful whispers echoed through the crowd. "We've faced darkness before. We can do it again, but we need to stand together." But not everyone believed them. Skeptics and those ignorant to the horrors began to mock their warnings, causing division. The Watcher's influence grew as fear seeped into the fabric of the community, stoking the flames of doubt. Episode 5. Night of the Watcher. On the night of a full moon, Sarah was awakened by frantic knocking at her door. A frightened child stood there, eyes wide with terror. "It's here! The dark man is watching," the child cried, looking over their shoulder as if expecting something to pounce. Sarah took the child in, and as she comforted them, the surrounding darkness seemed to wrap closer, alive and pulsating with dread. In the realm where shadows dwell and light flickers tenuously, new terrors arise. Old scars form new connections, beckoning the brave to venture into the dark once more. After the harrowing victory against the Watcher, Sarah, Clara, and Leo felt a semblance of peace wash over Eldermere. However, the town still bore the scars of fear and darkness, and that fragile calm barely concealed the brewing storm on the horizon. As the seasons changed, strange phenomena began to emerge in Eldermere. Reports of chilling cries in the night filled the air, and those who had faced the darkness previously found themselves plagued with vivid nightmares that felt all too real. "This feels different. It's like whispers of something new are stirring in the dark," Clara remarked, glancing nervously toward the shadows. Each day brought fresh unease, shadows dancing just a little more menacingly in the corners of their vision. The trio realized that the darkness wasn't truly vanquished. It had merely been lurking, waiting for the right moment to return. One evening, a new resident arrived in town, a reclusive woman named Evelyn, rumored to have come from a distant place where shadows were nurtured, not feared. Her presence raised eyebrows, and whispers spread that she carried dark secrets. "We should keep an eye on her. Something doesn't feel right," Leo suggested, his instincts drumming in his chest. As they learned more about Evelyn, they uncovered her past in different towns where ominous events followed her arrival. Curiosity mingled with dread as they pieced together her connection to the very darkness they had fought against. The atmosphere in town became increasingly suffocating. People reported eerie patterns repeating, children's laughter echoed distressingly, and old dolls began appearing in homes once more. "We need to confront Evelyn. She has something to do with this," Clara insisted, her determination hardening. The trio decided to visit Evelyn, hoping to uncover the truth behind the unsettling occurrences. As they approached her home, they felt the air grow heavy around them, shadows shifting more prominently in the dim light. Evelyn welcomed them with a sly smile, her eyes glinting with a strange intensity. I've been expecting you. She gestured toward a table adorned with trinkets covered in dust. Come, let me show you the secrets of the shadows. As Sarah, Clara, and Leo hesitantly entered, they were drawn to the strange artifacts. Among them was an object they had seen before, a small, beautifully crafted doll that bore the same markings as those used by the original cult. "Where did you get that?" he burst out, stepping forward. Evelyn's demeanor shifted, and a sinister shadow crossed her face. "This doll is a key to unlocking what has been suppressed. You didn't truly believe that your battles were over, did you?" The atmosphere thickened with dread, and as Evelyn spoke, the shadows in the room began to writhe and twist, revealing glimpses of dark figures from the past. "We thought we had sealed the door," she gasped, the realization crashing down like a wave. The trio quickly retreated, but the Watcher had not returned alone. Shadows coalesced around Evelyn, revealing her true nature as a conduit, bridging the walls between dimensions of fear and despair.
In the shadows lurk remnants of forgotten fears, stitched together by a thread of revenge. The darkness never truly leaves. It merely waits, eager to reclaim what was once lost. After vanquishing the Watcher and confronting the dark influence of Evelyn, the town of Eldermere began to rebuild once more, yet a collective sense of unease lingered in the air. Sarah, Clara, and Leo were determined to keep the darkness at bay, but something unquenchable and sinister lingered, waiting for an opportunity to seep back into their lives. Episode 1: The Unseen Whisper. Unbeknownst to them, a figure watched from the outskirts, an old woman named Agatha, a descendant of the original cult members, who believed the darkness should never have been banished. Racked with grief from the loss of her ancestors, Agatha sought to awaken the buried power of the cult and restore the shadows of the past. "It is time," she whispered into the wind, her eyes filled with a maddening glint. Meanwhile, Sarah was plagued by recurring nightmares of the town engulfed in darkness, with whispers beckoning her to return to the depths of despair. Each night felt more vivid, the pull of the shadows growing stronger. Episode 2: The Gathering Storm. It all began when strange events stirred up around Eldermere. Residents reported sightings of shadowy figures darting in the corners of their vision, and inexplicable power outages began disrupting their peaceful lives. "The darkness is coming back," Clara sighed one night, staring out of her window at the now familiar ominous silhouette of the town's clock tower. "We need to act before it spreads." Determined to protect their town again, Sarah, Clara, and Leo organized a community meeting, urging everyone to confront the perceived threat. However, as they spoke, pockets of the audience whispered doubts, convinced the darkness had been dealt with once and for all. Episode 3: The Old Room. Driven by desperation and the feeling of impending doom, Sarah ventured back to the abandoned asylum, seeking answers. As she stood before its crumbling facade, memories of past horrors washed over her, and she felt a chill race down her spine. "There must be something we missed," she murmured, steeling herself for what awaited inside. As she stepped over the decaying threshold, she noticed the walls were etched with fresh marks, symbols resonating with her nightmares, repeating the words she had heard in her sleep. The cloying odor of mildew mixed with something sweet and rotten, as if the building itself was alive. Episode 4: The Unraveling Threads. Exploring deeper, Sarah encountered remnants of the cult's past, revealing their obsession with harnessing evil spirits to gain power. Posters hung on the walls, depicting rituals that made her stomach churn. "These symbols remind me of the ones from the dolls," Clara whispered as she flipped through the pages of an ancient tome left untouched. The revelation struck. The cult hadn't just disappeared. Its spirit had been festering, waiting for an opportunity to rise again from its own ashes. Episode 5: The Third Awakening. That night, the trio gathered to discuss their findings, feeling the weight of dread pressing against them. We need to take action. If Agatha is truly trying to awaken the cult, we have to stop her, Leo insisted, exchanging meaningful looks with Sarah and Clara. The feeling of a new entity rising from the depths became undeniable. They needed to learn more about Agatha and what she was planning. Otherwise, they risked losing everything to the darkness. In the remnants of darkness, twisted memories and lost souls linger, waiting for the moment to strike anew. The final chapter looms on the horizon. After a desperate battle against Agatha and the rising shadows, the town of Eldermere found itself at a crossroads. The citizens, once consumed by fear, banded together in the aftermath of their struggle, vowing to keep the darkness at bay. However, a sense of foreboding hung in the air, hinting that the ultimate confrontation was yet to come. Sarah, Clara, and Leo spent their days educating the townsfolk about the history of the darkness that had plagued Eldermere. They organized community gatherings, creating protective wards, and sharing stories of courage against the shadows. We cannot forget what we've faced. We have to be vigilant. This isn't truly over, Clara insisted during one of their meetings. But as the nights grew longer, strange occurrences resumed. Flickering lights, whispers in the wind, and shadows flickering just outside sight haunted their every moment, leaving a trail of anxiety across the town. One night, Sarah received an unexpected visit from a former town historian, Evelyn's elderly mentor. He had a wealth of knowledge about Eldermere's dark past. There are echoes in time, lingering spirits that can awaken when the soil is ripe with fear, he warned sagely. The true enemy may be memories left untended. The historian divulged a terrifying truth. The darkness they had fought was only a fragment of something older and far more powerful, a malevolence desperately trying to reclaim its grip on the town. As they braced for the unknown, Sarah discovered an ancient artifact hidden in the library, a mirror etched with cryptic symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. When she gazed into it, she was drawn into haunting reflections of her fears. The artifact acted as a beacon for the restless souls caught between the living and the dead, each trapped by the anger and sorrow of their past. Realizing that the mirror held great power, Sarah, Clara, and Leo set out to uncover its origins. They unearthed tales of the Old Ones, dark entities that could be summoned to wreak havoc upon the world if given the opportunity. If we don't find a way to neutralize this, we could inadvertently awaken something that was meant to remain dormant, Leo warned them. With urgency, they began to devise a plan to secure the mirror, aiming to protect the town from this dark resurgence. As they delved deeper, old feelings of grief and unhealed wounds began to resurface among the townsfolk. Fear morphed into arguments, and divisions tore through their unity. Whispers of doubt echoed, festered by memories that sought to fracture their resolve. We can't let this happen. We've faced the darkness together. We can't let it divide us now, Clara cried. The familiar shadows watched from a distance, savoring the turmoil. The darkness thrived on doubt, leveraging their fears against them. Determined to confront the growing schism, Sarah assembled those willing to face their fears. She held a town gathering in the square, placing the mirror in the center. We need to confront these shadows. We need to acknowledge the pain these memories hold, she pleaded. Only then can we truly heal. As they gazed into the mirror, the reflection revealed not only their lost loved ones, but also the darkness that had plagued them, a reminder of their shared battles. Instead of cowering, the townsfolk began to remember the strength they had found together. Empowered by their collective spirit, they turned their focus to the artifact, performing a cleansing ritual meant to sever the ties between their memories and the haunting entity. Together, we can reclaim our town's light. We won't let darkness take it from us again, Leo shouted,